At this point, we've gotten through the stage of explaining why we're here and some of the mechanics, but now I'm really excited to get into start talking about our story here, this adventure of Heath, Page, and Deke. As you read the opening chapter of The $1 Trillion Journey, you see a young man that has spent several years planning out his life and getting to a point where he's achieved a very significant goal. But at the same time, events have happened in the last few weeks that leave him questioning the direction he's going to take. This is the tension that many entrepreneurs feel. And what I want to focus on with you as a founder or a potential founder going through this process, if you've already made that decision and you're on your journey, you know exactly what Heath is feeling. And if you're considering yourself, you're going to be going through this process where you hear a lot of different voices. You have a lot of different expectations set upon you by yourself and by others. And you're in the process of evaluating, what do I do and where do I go? And why do I want to do this? And do I take the safer path with a guaranteed or pretty guaranteed return, or do I take the more difficult path with potentially a more significant reward, but also potential for failure? What we're going to be seeing in the coming chapters, and why I want to take this time to discuss with you what happens in each of these chapters, is simply because the journey that is entrepreneurship is so different from what most of you believe or understand from the media or from what you've heard or seen or experienced yourselves. And it's really this complex interweaving of a very straightforward business environment where the numbers dictate final victory, but the process of getting to those numbers involves this complex situation of relationships and interacting with humans and their expectations and melding all that together in your own core objectives and plans. So what we see in this introduction and what I'm going to be asking you to do, and we have questions after each chapter, is not just read the story and not look just for a 1, 2, 3 black and white, okay, here's my key takeaway. But this is really encouraged to develop and show you the importance of continually asking questions of yourself, of continually evaluating other people and their positions and their expectations, and putting together this puzzle in your mind. How do I meet my expectations? How do I overcome my doubts, fears, or concerns? And how do I meld together those concerns and objectives of other people? I love to tell the story because it really made an impression on me of Walt Disney. I remember going to Disney when it was just starting, and Disney was one of my childhood heroes, and later in life being able to read the story about the struggles he went through and almost going bankrupt repeatedly. And then when he had the vision for Disneyland, risking everything to go do it, but then not being able to convince any of the people that he wanted to join him in that venture and provide their capital because he couldn't communicate his vision to them. And at the same time, them seeing his success and his challenges, but not being able to see what was going on in his mind. So right now, we're encountering the first of our key characters, Heath. And I want you to evaluate his personality, because one of the key things you'll need to do as an entrepreneur is get to know yourself, but also begin to looking at the motivations and capabilities and experiences of those that are going to be with you on the journey. So Heath has two close friends that were with him on a project that we'll learn more about in just a few moments. But they had a successful business project, and he learned through that process that the Page, the female member of that team, who he had been friends with for a long time, had a little bit of a personal interest in, had a certain type of personality. He knew where she was focused. He had another friend, Deke, that had another type of personality, and we'll explore those in the coming chapters. And we want to come back, and we'll refer to this a number of times, had a very specific way of approaching risk an opportunity. He liked to control the situation. He liked to evaluate the situation and then come up with a solution that he felt was very workable with minimal risk. By the same token, we see in the second part of the first chapter, we meet Professor Sweetman. And what we will learn more about over this time is Sweetman has met his goals and his objectives in his life, and he's had success, but he's come to appreciate something called the American Free Enterprise System in a very unique way. It's brought him a great deal of success, but more than that, it's impressed upon him several things. Number one, just how difficult that journey is. Number two, how much capital and how many deals and how many companies fail because they don't understand that process and that value. And then number three, how that there's very little that one can do to guarantee success in that venture, but it takes a methodical, careful culling and sorting out and evaluating participants who may be involved in that game. And he's made it a role of his life. He's made all the money he wants to make, and he's proven he knows what he's doing, but now he's on the hunt. He's kind of like a legendary football coach that wants to build another national championship, not just for him or his glory, but to seed those specially equipped and trained and inclined people and put them into other teams that might go after a championship. But he also sees this balance of needing to find not only the founder that might carry that ball, but also the idea that it's at the right time and the right position that marries those together, and then recognizing that it takes the marrying of that idea and a team that is specially built of selected individuals to pursue that idea, and then the investment or the capital that's going to take them to the next level and proceed. Now, what we're going to see on our journey, watching these three individuals, is the manifestation of what Professor Sweetman is seeing. But it's not just a fictional narrative here. We see this every day playing out in the marketplace in hundreds of different deals and hundreds of different scenarios. We've all heard of Airbnb by this time, but what most people don't realize is Airbnb simply came out in 2007, 2008 as a solution to a problem. The founders of Airbnb had some credit card bills they had to pay, and there was a convention in town that the hotel spaces were gone, so they bought some air mattresses and had people sleep in their apartment to generate some money to pay for a bill. And what became a side hustle for them developed over time into what we call today a very successful business. But what I wanted to start at this point is many perceptions that you have of why you want to be an entrepreneur is reading the headlines or hearing the stories of somebody that had made a lot of money, the Gates and the Musks and the Larry Olsons and the people that end up buying football teams. And you see that success without understanding the pitfalls along the journey. And so for that reason, in each of our chapters, we'll pick up a case study that illustrates some of the other entrepreneurs who have gone through these processes and why the information in these chapters that you're going to be going through are deeply rooted in real-life scenarios. While I say it's a fictional narrative, every single element of every single chapter is based on either our personal experiences of the people involved with the Free Enterprise Warriors community, or they're pulled, as they say, pulled from the headlines of today. We've studied and been involved with and seen and experienced many, many, many of these examples that you'll be sitting here. And I remember sitting in the audience. I was fortunate enough to be in Dallas and having Fred Smith present, and being in Dallas and involved with SMU, I got to hear a number of entrepreneurs. You could actually sense the emotion in Fred Smith talking about how Federal Express just almost didn't make it and how he had to go to Las Vegas to make the money for a payroll. Now that's not a recommended solution, and we'll talk about that again later. But when you get into your heart and your soul, the clear idea of what the $1 trillion journey is. It's going to change your perspective, not only about whether you want to do that or what role you want to play, but it's also going to provide you with a moldable mindset that you can incorporate not just the information, but then the details of the emotional and relationship issues that are going to drive your success or put you on the road towards failure. Now, to do that, as I've indicated, we have two frameworks that we work through. The first is the founder, team member, investor. Each event that we go over, each chapter we cover, is going to be seen differently depending on the mentality and the role somebody is, whether you are the founder or you are a team member, as broad as that is, or you're an investor. And the first step for you as the founder is to realize that everybody's not going to see what you're pitching them or you're excited about or what you're wanting them to support in the same way. And you have to get into their heads before you can even begin to expect them to get into your heads. So the other thing we use is what we call the Free Enterprise Warrior Framework: strategic, corporate, marketing, product, operations, admin, and finance. And as you go forward, we'll use the dashboard to show you that as you grow your company, the complexities introduced in that issue of the numbers and the relationships grow geometrically and become something that requiring you to develop the skills to basically juggle the ball, spinning the plates, whatever metaphor you want to use, but it demands the absolute most of you to be able to assess what's going on, respond to what's going on, and realize you can't do it perfectly. It's not going to happen the way you planned it, but the ultimate level of your test of your ability to be a successful founder is your ability to, as they say in the Marine Corps, adapt, improvise, and overcome. So we'll leave chapter 1 with Heath having achieved his goal and now driving back from his meeting where he got the offer for the dream job, trying to filter that against what was presented to him by Professor Sweetman 4 weeks ago. And we'll learn more about that in the next couple of chapters.